Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and we have a barrister A.A. Manta as our regular special guest today. We shall be talking about something just briefly. I don't know what I will target. It's not news anyway. It's just something that aroused my interest, a kind of, I felt we should just talk about it. It is about the governor of Niger State, what happened a couple of days ago. The governor of Niger State visited President Bola Tinubu at his office at Aso Rock, the presidency. And we saw what happened in the picture. We don't know who circulated that picture, but that picture was real. And so we want to talk about it with Barrister Manta today. And I want to know what he feels, what he thinks about that situation. Barrister, once again, welcome to JIBRIN Angle. Thank you once again for giving us this time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we may be talking about others, one or two more other things that has to do with Nigeria as a nation. But for now, let's talk about what happened between the Niger State governor. I think Bago is his name, right? Yes. Between the Niger State governor and Bola Tinubu. And in the first place, how did he become governor? Why did he have to actually go on his knee to an adult, a Hausa man for that matter? Hausa, if it were a Yoruba man where Tinubu came from, that would have been understandable. But this is a Hausa man. Hausa culture does not. They have a very respectful culture, but they do that to some leaders, but most usually not like the Yorubas who just go on. It's the Yoruba tradition to actually respect and honor the elders. But it is not, Hausa does that, but not that like the Yorubas, especially not in the it's not a regular stuff. Hausa they just do that for political reasons, to godfathers and whatever. So if it's not in the northern Hausa man's character, why did this man have to do that? Can you please give us your opinion? Do you think it's okay, it's right for a whole governor of a state to do that? And why?
Thank you very much. Let me first correct an impression that the Governor Bago is Hausa. He is Nupe. He's not Hausa man. Okay. He's Nupe, governor of Niger State, actually. Having said that, let me say that that kind of thing is not peculiar. And within Nigeria here, there's a background to it. Maybe you didn't latch onto it, but there were social media posts that an APC governor happened to call Peter Obi my boss. And after that, his picture kneeling before Tinubu came up on social media, and there were comments that he has gone to beg Tinubu for the comment that he made by saying or referring to Peter Obi as his boss. So on social media in Nigeria, those are the comments that you will see. I think along the way, somewhere they met with Peter Obi and he said, he referred to him as my boss. And in Nigerian politics, people take those kind of things very seriously. And they amplify things like that, and it becomes a disloyal element. So when you see the next picture of him kneeling before the president, you can understand where he's coming from and what has happened before, and the outcry that was generated by his reference to Peter Obi as my boss. But again, you have to understand that Tinubu is coming to is scheduled to pay a state visit to
Niger
his
State.
state, Niger State, from Monday. And again, you come to our politics, our leaders like to be worshipped. The Nigerian state, we have discussed before, there is no equity in distribution of things. The federal resources that are with the federal government are distributed at the whims and caprices of the president. So if you are a governor of a state and you want to attract something to your state, you want to attract money and a particular project to your state, you will found and worship the leader, the president, so as to massage his ego and end up getting what you want. Some people will say, why should the governor, an adult, a grown-up person do that? But then you have always to bear in mind that we are operating within the Nigerian political environment, where the president is like a mini god. In fact, some of them will even say the president is like a god. Now, if by doing that, he can make the president to approve some projects or large amounts of money for things to be done in Niger State, he would claim, yes, he has stooped to conquer. He has bent down, but he has also achieved something for his people. So you look at it from those two backgrounds, trying to correct an image that he presented by calling somebody else his boss, calling a political enemy of the president or a competitor of the president his boss, and then having been in the same political party with the president. In the Nigerian scene, that would be a grievous fault and a grievous sin, and you have to make amends for that. So understand it in those contexts.
Does it have anything to do with Obi, either in the past or present, as per personal relationship, business relationship? What do you think could have prompted him referring to Peter Obi as his boss?
I've been trying to get the full particulars of where the incident, where he ended up calling Peter Obi my boss, but I have not yet laid hand on the clear-cut information of where and in what circumstances that happened. And I'm trying to go forward and see whether he had prior relationship with Obi, or they have met before, or whether they have had business or other dealings. But I'm yet to, this is a developing story. I'm yet to get clear information on that.
Yeah,
So
because
far, this is what the social media is putting up. Nobody has come up to say, oh, these people have been buddies before, friends before, business associates, or otherwise before today. But they are all young men. The man is a young man. Peter Obi is also a young man.
no, Peter
So
Obi, someone that is 62, 63 is
if
not a young
somebody,
man.
look, if somebody in relation to the gladiators of the Nigerian politics is the young man, because Tinubu is after is 70 something, Atiku Abubakar is 70 something. They are the three main
Candidates.
contenders to the Nigerian presidency, and not of the three, he's a young man by comparison. And
All right.
the governor of Niger State too is a young man. So it's possible they have met somewhere in business, or in other circumstances.
The governor of Niger State, I don't know what is his. Honestly, I don't know him. How old is he? What age brackets?
The governor of Niger State should be in his 50s, early 50s.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, the point is this. Yeah, I understand all those Nigerian political dynamics. Our leaders love to be worshipped and other stuff. If you don't do that, you won't get favors from their office. But then, honestly, when I saw that picture, no, I do not see any form of justification for for someone, a governor, a chief executive, because the same constitution that guides and guards the presidency is the same constitution that guards and guides the governor's office as well, the state governor's office. They were both elected. In fact, even though I don't know much about Niger State politics, but I know definitely, I doubt if it was Niger State governorship election was as rigged as or rather rigged, not as rigged as the one Bola Tinubu did to get himself to power. Sort of. So I think I still believe that the governor of Niger State has far more legitimacy as a governor than Tinubu has as a president. And I don't know why. I don't see any justification, no matter whatever it is. There are so many governors who can get something. You can still get something from the center, even if you don't do that. It's sort of, after all, how did Tinubu didn't he fare well during Obasanjo? Tinubu had the same issue with Obasanjo. Sort of, did he worship Obasanjo? Did he cave to Obasanjo's whims and caprices? No, of course. They battled today. They fought throughout Obasanjo's regime, almost throughout the Obasanjo's regime. Both of them, the entire for second term, they were not in good term. Sort of, they didn't see eye to eye. Sort of. So, and Tinubu survived. He did all that he did in Lagos, and he never complained. Yes, you will say, okay, Lagos is richer, much more richer than Niger State. But again, it depends, because Lagos may be richer than Niger State. Lagos, because the higher you go, the colder it becomes. Sort of. So the Lagos may be that very, very rich, but at the same time, their responsibility is synonymous. It's synonymous to their wealth as well. And so is Niger State. Niger State may not be as rich as Lagos State, but their responsibility is also synonymous if well managed. If the resources they have in their own resources. Even if federal government does not give them any resources from the center, Niger State should be able to sustain itself if we have good governance there. So their wealth is synonymous with their responsibilities. So this issue of governor kneeling down, we've seen that in the past, where you see people kneeling down to, I think Rufai, incidentally, Rufai did it to Obasanjo too. Surprisingly, I didn't expect such thing from someone like a Rufai. That should tell you how a hypocrite that man can be, sort of, because that man is so full of arrogance and pride. For someone to expect such thing, for a person like a Rufai to do that, maybe I think I may buy into your idea of desperation to actually get what you need. That people, if you don't do that to our leaders, political leaders, if you don't worship them and they don't feel worshipped, they don't show you favor. But at the same time, honestly, my own opinion, I do not see any justification to actually kneel before any man, any human being, sort of. That is just the truth, especially when it's a political office, because the governor is empowered as the way the president is empowered by the constitution. Is that they both were elected. They are elected, they are occupying elective positions or whatever. So they answer to the people. So I don't know why governors will worship the president, because it's all about, it boils down to corruption, barrister. Because if you intend to do the right thing, just like Tinubu did when he was the governor of Lagos State. If you intend to do the right thing, govern well, you don't need the center. You don't need any favors from the center. Yes, you said there are some federal government projects, federal government initiations or initiatives that your state may need or whatever. Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, there are states that took care of federal government projects and expect the federal government to reimburse them. I think Peter Obi did that during his governorship or whatever, and some other governors did that. There are some governors in the southeast that did that when presidents, especially during Obasanjo and even during Buhari, where they had to spend money on federal government, rather road or a project, just because they needed to do that, and federal government was not forthcoming. Sort of. So again, honestly, I don't see any justification to that. Honestly, why someone will have to kneel before an elected official to get or whatever. You still want to say something, Barrister?
Yes, I still have to remind you that we are in Africa. I have personal experiences, but I will also mention some of them, not with me. If you have recalled, not in the distant past, former President Obasanjo came to a meeting where the Obas and chiefs were in attendance, and they did not stand up. So he was so furious that he ordered them to stand up. They stood up and they sit down, and they sit down like school children.
Oh my God. Yes, I remember that incident actually.
It became a big row in Nigeria that how can the former president demean revered traditional rulers
crazy man,
in that manner? I myself had an experience, I think around 1992, I was doing election petitions in then Borno State. We were based in Potiskum.
Okay.
And then, during the Babangida's regime, where the parties were only two parties, the NRC, National Republican Convention. So myself and a friend of mine were brought to do the NRC. And because of the political, because they said the person who won was this, so they wanted the cases. Okay. Like I was saying, back in 1992, when we were brought to Potiskum to do election petitions, and we were to go and pay a courtesy call on the emir of Nangeri, the emir of that place, who had interest in the outcome of the election petitions. Now, I'm a thief man. By our culture, we do not bend before anybody. Okay. We do not lie down. We do not bend to greet any human being. That is our culture. But I was going to, myself and my colleague who was a Fulani man, a lawyer, who were going to pay courtesy call on the emir. So as soon as we entered the emir's place where we were to see him, I saw that he sat way back. His seat was pressed like almost 50 meters from where we entered, the hall that we entered. Wow. And the rest of there was no chairs, nothing. It was just carpet, rug, up to the place where he sat. And as we entered, my Fulani colleague immediately fell on the ground and was crawling to where the emir was. Really? To where the emir was. It was absolutely strange to me because I have never faced a situation like that. So I walked while he was crawling on the carpet to where I was walking. Yeah. So by the time we reached where the emir, it was a very long
Yeah, of course.
distance.
Yeah, I understand the situation.
So by the time we reached where the emir was saying, the emir was amused. He said, "Are you a thief man?" Out of nowhere, I don't know how he gets. I say, "Yes, Your Highness." He said, "No wonder." But it was, for them, it was absolutely normal.
Wow.
And you see, when they enter, nobody dare to stand. They have to lie down
Wow.
on the carpet. But for me, I'm coming from where I was coming from, and I have never had a situation where I was robbed.
Did you say Emir of Potiskum?
And that is not Emir of Potiskum, it's Emir of Nangere. That is where
Okay,
Potiskum is.
Nangere. Okay, okay,
That is where the headquarters is Potiskum.
okay.
So I have never had such kind of thing before. So you can see how that play out. But for them, it was respect, the way they respect their people. Another example is back home in my state. I remember where one of our governors, a commissioner came to him in the government house. And as soon as the governor came out, the commissioner fell on his knees and started eulogizing the governor, claiming that, Your Excellency, I'm 100% lawyer, sir. I'm 100% a commissioner in the governor's district. It was so amusing that even the governor had to turn to one side and be smiling, sort of. So you
He
see,
felt embarrassed.
the governor himself was not very comfortable.
Yes.
He was amused, so he had to turn to one side and sort of let us all laugh. What I'm trying to say is that it is not very strange in Nigeria for you see people doing those kind of things for various reasons, but mostly to demonstrate their loyalty and to try to get something
But
from
do
the
you
person,
know?
from the leader.
But can you are you of the same opinion with me that people who does that and honestly they are really not loyal. They are not a loyal. They don't have loyalty in their vein. It's just pretense, just to get what it is.
Most
Do you agree with me?
most most of it is actually pretense.
That
You
is it.
do not have to do that to show loyalty
Of course.
at that level. At the level of being a governor and the person being a president, you should interact as equals.
Yeah, that is it.
Bearing in mind that the other person is actually the president. Yes, you give him that
That respect.
respect
Yes. Yeah.
for being the father of the nation.
Yeah.
But that is not the way to interact with, even me, with not being the governor. I cannot interact with the president like that.
Like that. Honestly, that's the point.
I cannot, if
That's my point,
somebody should
actually.
take me to the president now, there's no way I will kneel down.
Kneel down, for God's sake. Yeah, of
I have
course.
to stand up and talk to him to show that I know what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah,
not begging, I'm not
that is it.
fawning. Let the president understand me from what I'm conveying, from my speech, from my direction of the issues. That is what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, you find this type of things. And most assuredly, people who do that are the first people to stab you in the back.
That's the point.
When the time comes.
That's my point. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. That is exactly my point. That's why I said that. In my opinion, honestly, people who do that, who worship human beings for personal gain or to try to prove to them how loyal they are, honestly, they are the ones, honestly, they are the ones that are not loyal. They don't have loyalty in their veins. So that is, it's not in their DNA. They are backstabbers. They are people who they just go, they evolve. They evolve with the happenings of the day, the current affairs, a sort of wherever the power lies, they just go at the moment. Then if it moves from, if the power evolves from that point again, they follow that same, they just evolve with time and season. It's sort of, so that is just unbelievable. I don't so much like, I don't like people who do that. It's sort of honestly, for whatever reason, I just don't like people worshiping people. I don't like people who want to be worshipped. That is one. I don't like people who worship people just for, I don't know, for whatever reason. Whatever reason, I don't even care what reason, but for you to just kneel before a human being who have the same breath as you, the same blood, color of blood flows through you, the same one head, whatever, he or she is just privileged. Privileged. It's just a privilege. Nobody, don't tell me this person's hard work, this person's smartness, this person's this person is wide, is that. No, it's all privileged. Whatever that person has is just privilege. So that's why the Bible says the race is not for the sweet, not for the battle for the strong. So that that you have survived, that you have succeeded, that you are the richest person, you are the most powerful person. It is not about your smartness. Honestly, it's just privilege. And that is why no one should expect worship because you are in a privileged situation or privileged level where on a privileged level where you can, when one can actually look up to you or look on to you for help or whatever. And no one should worship anybody or whatever. Not even men of God. Even me, I apply it to even men of God. This is sure. Okay, kneel down, let's pray. Okay, that's understandable. You are not kneel down before the man of it. Prayer is about prayer. You're not kneel down before the man of God. You are kneeling down before God. But even at that, even that kneeling down before man of God, the man of God said, kneel down, let me pray for you. Honestly, even that, I'm not too comfortable with that. There are elders I can, naturally, I am a respecter of elderly men. When I say elders, not be somebody where somebody with a really old man, with somebody don't reach to, really reach to give birth to me. A sort of. So out of respect, not because you are anything. You are not, because you're a man of God. Just I can just visit an elderly person or whatever. But I again, I don't even see myself kneeling down. But usually I prostrate. That's what I do to elders. Generally, even within this environment I find myself, people are surprised whether it's in my blood. I just respect elderly people naturally. Even I do that to even white men, whatever. You want to shake me, see me, I kind of, the moment you are elderly, your 70s, 80s, or whatever, I meet a lot of them, whatever, at the site or whatever. I just be so many, I do that respect is that I've always had that in my vein. A sort of, I prostrate. You see me, sometimes I put my two hands to shake you or whatever. I do that. That's it. I've always had that in my, but for me to kneel down and no. Whatever I do, even if I do that, I just do that based on respect, not because I'm expecting. Honestly, if I'm expecting something from you, yeah, that is even when you see that pride in me comes up. Probably that is why sometimes I don't even get what I'm looking for.
And finally, you have to remember that the president, Tinubu, is a Yoruba man. And in Yoruba culture, you do not even stand up to greet an elder. You have to not just bend down, you have to prostrate on the ground. So
I had that issue. Yes, you are right. I had that issue. My wife is a Yoruba woman. When I wanted to marry her, in fact, it was a difficult situation for me. Oh, let me be frank with you. My mom almost pleaded, in fact, not pleaded, she almost knelt down to beg me, please, because I was almost going to call off the marriage because of that. I remember when I went for introduction to marry my whatever. My father-in-law was expecting that prostration or whatever. I didn't do that. So probably that is why they didn't tell me that, but that is why they never approved my marriage. They objected to that marriage to the last, a sort of, so the last point or whatever. So I never prostrated, I never did all those I never paid obeisance to him, because that is not who I am. That's not where I'm coming. That's not my foundation. You don't impose other people's foundation on your foundation on others. You don't impose your culture on others. Everybody has, so respect other people's culture as well. So when it came to traditional stuff, because when we were visiting, I wasn't doing that. And people were getting offended or whatever. I didn't care. And thank God for my wife. My wife didn't care too. That was the truth. She helped the situation because she didn't care. She didn't care. She wasn't bothered about us. In fact, she was supporting me. She was on my side. Let me be frank with you. So it helped the situation. So that is what happened. At the end of the day, it came to the traditional aspect. That's what they said. This one come. You can't. You just. It is not possible. You have to lay flat on the ground. you have to. You have to. You have to go lie flat on the ground. That became a very serious issue for me. My mom pleaded nothing. People, honestly, my mom almost knelt down to beg me, please don't do, because everybody loves my wife, my family, especially my mom. They love they felt, don't lose this woman, don't lose this girl. So they pleaded and pleaded. So I had to budge. I caved before but that day they brought mats so that we bought mats, spread mat on the ground, and they say, well, yeah, everybody the ballet, including my friends, people who came with me too. Everybody went on the ground and like that. It was very, very awkward to me, but eventually I did it. I did it. Honestly, I did it because of my mom. My mom was very, very. In fact, you needed to see how she was so passionate. She almost knelt down to beg me. In fact, she attempted doing that. I stood up and heard her and said, Mommy, why you go kneel down before me, please? Or whatever. So that is the point. So she almost embarrassed me with that. But I just felt okay. I did it because of her. That was because usually I don't do that. So anyway, that is just it, Barrister. Can we talk about this issue of grain briefly? That Ukraine had to. Now, I didn't get the detailed information about the grain that Ukraine donated to Nigeria. I don't know. The grain they donated, is it for edible purpose or for planting, for agricultural purpose, for planting purpose?
Well, I myself have not, I only read it in the paper. You know, in the advent of the war,
Yes.
between Russia and Ukraine, one of the selling points that the US and the West wanted to use to rally support for Ukraine was the issue of food. The propaganda went out that the war is going to cause hunger.
Hunger, yeah.
In Africa and in many parts of the world, because the Ukraine is a grain exporting country.
Yeah.
They forgot that Russia is even a bigger grain exporting country than Ukraine.
Great.
But this was the propaganda that has been going on. If you recall the issue of the Black Sea disruption of shipment of grains that Russia attempted to do, and the Turkish intervention that allowed Ukraine to export their grain. So it's part of the propaganda to rally support for Ukraine by saying that, look, Ukraine, if anything radical should happen, a lot of countries in the world are going to suffer famine and loss of food, and food prices will escalate. All this talk, we hear them going on. Now, I have never heard that Ukraine has donated grains to Nigeria. Nigeria imports grains from many parts of the world.
Yeah.
And particularly the grains that we import mostly is rice. And the rice is not from Ukraine.
Yeah.
The rice is more from Asia.
Thailand, and other places.
So
Yeah.
I do not know the type of grains that the Ukraine is said to have donated to Nigeria, or what. We import by buying grains from, or foodstuff rather, from a lot of countries in the world. But if anything like that happens, it's only within the context of the propaganda and the attempt to rally the third world countries behind the US and the West and in support of Ukraine. There should be no politics on that. The amount of grains, whatever it is that they can donate to Nigeria, will not have any serious effect on the food situation in Nigeria. It cannot affect the kind of problem that Nigeria is having in terms of food as we speak.
Yeah, but my problem is, no, the problem is if we cannot define what the grain is for, it will be difficult for us to assume that it cannot solve our problem. Now, in the first place, I don't expect, it's a shame that Nigeria will have, look, Nigeria is too rich to expect handouts, to expect humanitarian assistance from anyone, not just Ukraine. If not the issue of bad leadership, for God's sake, tell me, how will a country as rich as Nigeria, the sixth largest oil producing nation in the world, a country that has virtually all the solid mineral resources you can think about. I think there was an article I wrote some years ago or whatever about this Nigeria. Look, I think we have about so many minerals, I think about 60 something solid minerals globally that are very, very useful. I think about 50 something of these solid minerals can be found on commercial quantity in Nigeria. Yet we have a country still expecting aid from the Western world. Aid for this, aid for that, whatever. And a country as rich as Nigeria, I do not expect any handout, any donation, from any assistance from any part of the world. It's a very, very shameful thing. Now back to this issue of grain. Just as I said earlier, if we don't know, if we cannot define what the essence of this grain, we cannot define that, we just can't assume that no matter what, it won't be helpful, because if it's for planting, for agricultural purpose, of course, it will be helpful. It will help our farmers. It's sort of because this grain, the grains for planting is usually different from the regular grains or whatever. We have grains for your state is you're an agricultural person. You come from an agricultural background, so you understand what I mean. So it's important, and if it's important, that's important too to farmers. Now, if it's for edible purpose, of course it's important too, because we know what food stuff is talking about right now in the market. You know how inflation has taken food, everything virtually, but at least food, but food that is one of that is the basic, not even one of the most important in our daily need and expectation, so that of course will go a long way in helping alleviating that issue of high prices, although temporarily, unfortunately. Even if it's for edible purpose, it's going to be temporary, because definitely the cause of hunger in Nigeria is foundational. So you have to deal with the foundation to be able to sustain the solution, whatever solution it is. So whatever, if you just throw money at the problem on the surface level, it will alleviate the issue temporarily, for the moment, and in 1 or 2 weeks or thereabout later, you will go back to the same situation. So I think, just like I said,
let me reiterate.
Yes.
That Nigeria is such a large country with such a large population, and the population of the hungry in Nigeria is so large that for any donation to make an effect, it has to be extremely massive. Ukraine does not have the capacity to donate such massive grains that will make a real difference, or even scratch at the surface of the Nigerian food problem. That is the point I'm trying to make. Whatever donation was made can only be understood in the context of the propaganda war that is ongoing, in order to attract support for Ukraine and to rally countries behind the cause of Ukraine. The amount of food that would make a difference will have to be sustained. It cannot be one ship, it cannot be two ships. It has to be a massive shipment of food, and we have not seen such massive shipment of food from Ukraine to Nigeria at any time. Nigeria itself is buying, not even by government agencies. Business people are importing these grains and selling from different countries. So when you hear donation, it is a kind of, let me just put it in a way that it's a kind of,
We know what
it's not
donation
a
is, of
massive,
course. Yes.
it's not a massive food
Yeah.
amount of food that we are talking about.
Okay.
It's something to show goodwill, more or less. So that is why, even without knowing the quantity, I can appraise that it cannot be such a quantity that will make a difference in the life of
All right.
hungry
All right.
Nigerians.
That's understandable right now. Can we talk about this issue of Qatar? You are aware of Tinubu's journey to Qatar, the foundation of the journey, the controversy surrounding the Qatar meeting, this business summit here and there, wherever. What is your opinion about the whole story, everything about it? I think it's in the public sphere. It's not a new thing. What's your opinion about that journey? I made last week actually. I made I think I made a comment on that on my show all by myself. I talked about that and I gave my opinion on that. For our viewers, in case you have not watched that, you can watch that. I spoke at length on Tinubu's Qatar Business Summit. So please just go back to my last angle and you get the detail. So Barrister, can you give me what's your opinion about the whole hula baloo around the Qatar Business Summit?
Well, the issue of the business summit became a diplomatic problem, a diplomatic spat.
Yes.
Because clearly the Qatar government did not want the business summit to hold.
Yes, sir.
And they actually cancelled it.
Yeah.
In view of the fact that Nigeria has already boasted and published that their president is going to attend.
Yeah.
And then the Qatar government pulled the rug from under that. It became a very serious diplomatic embarrassment. So they had to go back to the drawing board and put some pressure on the government of Qatar. That look, this thing has put a big embarrassment on us. Find a way to accommodate the president's visit so that we can at least save face. So it is in the context of that that the Qatari belatedly say, okay, you are coming to visit us. Let us also say, okay, in the course of that, we'll do a business summit, just to make sure that Nigeria does not lose face. I don't think the people Qatar's mind, the government or people of Qatar, their mind was not in that business summit.
Yes,
but
sir.
they had to concede to it for Nigeria's government to save face from the diplomatic embarrassment that ensued.
You are absolutely right. Anyway, that is just it. And that is why we shouldn't expect anything to come out of it because I mean, in the first place, it's a shame that Nigeria will condescend that low to see Qatar as a country that will just seek for help from. For God's sake, Qatar of all country, because they are oil rich, they are rich or whatever. Nigeria is rich. If Nigeria had been, if not the bad leadership we've had over the years, Qatar will be far beneath Nigeria, for God's sake, in all facets. Even at this point, they are still far beneath us. So they are rich. They are not. There's no doubt about that. They have cash to throw around, but not to be compared to Nigeria, for God's sake. Nigeria, this is the largest country, the largest country, the largest population of blacks in Africa, for God's sake. Not even in Africa, in the world. The largest population of blacks in the world. And you are just, I don't understand why Nigerian government, they just like embarrassing us. They really like embarrassing us.
The problems remains leadership. As long as our leaders do not understand the context of modern governance, where the world is going, we will continue to grow in the dark. We have no, Qatar is less than a state.
That's the point. That's the point. That's the point I made in my previous or whatever. Yes, that's the point.
They may be having a lot of petrodollars to throw around, but that is not the issue. We should not go cap in hand begging them. If any government creates the conditions within Nigeria, look, Nigerian people are vibrant.
Yeah, of
they
course.
Can do anything.
Of course.
They can excel in any field of endeavor. All what is needed is to create the conditions in Nigeria for Nigeria's energy, the energy of the people to come up. In the modern economy, you don't even need oil. A school child in the US can sit and create an app, and in the next 2 to 3 years, it becomes a billionaire. Look at Zoom. Zoom was created, I remember Peter Obi was saying that when Zoom started, he was in the US and he was asked to invest in it. He regretted that he did not invest in Zoom. In a matter of 5 years, Zoom now has become one of the biggest apps in the world. Somebody will sit in a computer in Nigeria, in the university or elsewhere in his office, and create something that will bring wealth. But if our leaders do not understand that we have everything here, the problem is the lack of environment. You have not allowed our people to bring out their energy, their brilliance, and their hard work. So you have to go outside always telling people to come and invest. First, settle yourself, organize yourself. You don't even need to, when the atmosphere is right, you don't even need to call anybody. People will come by themselves if they know that the atmosphere is right. Like I said, foreigners wanted to come to Nigeria, for instance, and this has been restated by a lot of people. They asked some lawyers in Nigeria, if I come here and invest and I have a problem with my distance, how long will the court case take? They tell them 10 years. They say, no.
That's the point.
I can't come there. So you have to go back as long as our leaders fail to understand that the problem is not from outside, it's from here.
Yeah, that is it.
It's within us here. We will continue to mess up and suffer and grope and go cap in hand begging when we have everything within us. That is, and it reminds me, I think the song by, is it Bob Marley? When you say, in the abundance of water, the food is tasty. And that is just the situation. We have everything here, but we're poor. We're poor because we cannot organize ourselves. We cannot put our house in order. So going abroad, going for business summit to Qatar or anywhere, it's not going to bring us out of our problem. That's the truth. And that is why we need leaders who will understand the situation and do the right thing. So far, we don't have those leaders. The people who have been taking powers have no such ideas.
All right, viewers, you have heard it all. Thank you so much for joining us. I think that brings us to the end of this show. If you have anything based on all we have discussed so far, you can share your opinion, and we are always we'll always be there to respond to your opinions. As you all know, we've been having conversation with Barrister A.A. Manta. He's a principal partner of A.A. Manta & Co., a legal practitioner for almost 4 decades now. So Yes, once again, Barrister, thank you for joining us today. And viewers, this is JIBRIN ANGEL coming to you on Oleke TV. We urge you to subscribe to this channel and follow the channel as we bring to you your favorite programs. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Again, my name is JIBRIN. Bye.